Hi folks. So for this episode, I wanted to do something a little bit different. As you're probably aware, the Black Lives Matter movement has been in full vigor recently, protesting police brutality against blacks and demanding the dismantling of systems of oppression against people of color. As a white, cisgender, and heterosexual man, whether I realize it or not, I benefit from these very systems. And that goes with music too. A lot, if not virtually all, the popular music has some origin in black music and culture. I play rock music with both of my bands, and rock music comes directly from African American culture. So that's something I need to acknowledge. And even just the privilege that I can go and make music without having to worry about cops beating me up. So as a person with this privilege, I think it's part of our duty to speak up, act, and call for change. And so I started to think about what I could do with, my albeit currently small platform on YouTube to help with that. So for this episode, I want to take a step back from my usual vlogs, and I want to ask you to check out some black music and drum related YouTube content creators instead of watching me. And I'm actually going to highlight a few here that I think are really cool. So first, I thought it would be appropriate to start with another Toronto musician. I want to talk about Rob Brown.
And funny enough, a lot of you have asked about the hi-hat break in Walking on the Moon. I was like, you don't have to twist my arm to show you that. So this lesson, I'm going to show you how to play the hi-hat break in Walking on the Moon.
He's a drummer in the Toronto area, and he makes a lot of educational drum content on YouTube. He really covers quite a few different topics, like how to improve your ergonomy and technique, learning certain licks or certain fills in certain songs, or even covering how to quickly tune your entire drum set. I've really learned a lot from him, so I really think it's worth that you go and check him out.
But you also know that the coolest part of the song is that iconic hi-hat break towards the end, right before the vamp. The thing that makes it really cool is sort of a creative use of delay.
So the second creator I want to highlight is Gavin.
In this episode of One Drummer's Journey, we're talking about how to get gigs as a local musician. Let's go.
He's another drummer, this time in the Tampa area. And what I really found interesting about his YouTube content are his vlogs in particular. So he talks about his experience and his journey as a professional freelance drummer and musician. And one of the things I found really valuable in his videos is sort of the advice that he gives to a lot of sort of the up-and-coming drummers or musicians trying to start a career for themselves. He often talks about skills that go beyond simply just being able to play music, skills that make you hireable, employable, and easy to work with. So there's a lot of valuable information on his channel as well.
Okay, so let's discuss the defining principle that I want you to get in your mind. This is super important. You got to get this right because it's everything. You are always auditioning. All the time you're auditioning. You're not just auditioning when you go take an audition. You're auditioning on every single gig you take. You're auditioning at every single practice session.
So the last YouTuber I want to highlight today is L.A. Buckner. He's a drummer based in Minneapolis, and along with Nare Soul, he's one of the hosts of the really cool and unique channel Soundfield.
In the 1920s, Dorsey had an epiphany. He began to turn away from secular music and started writing gospel songs. But he didn't leave his past behind. He often infused his gospel music with the feel and structure of the blues.
In this channel, LA and Nare explore really cool topics in almost documentary style videos. They explore things like why musicians with different backgrounds might play differently, the origins and the history of a few different styles of music, and so on. They really do touch on a lot of unique topics. I'd really recommend you check their channel out if you're interested in things like the history, the origin of certain scenes, the culture surrounding certain aspects of music. They really delve into a lot of cool stuff.
Definitely Chicago is the home for gospel, hands down.
Okay, so we're in the right spot.
Yeah.
So talk about the church, the black church being a training ground for musicians.
It's a training ground, but also too, everyone is so on top of their skill and not really know the raw skill is so great that it's like singing at the Apollo.
What's his name? What's his name?
So this is certainly not a comprehensive or exhaustive list of all the black music YouTubers out there, but I wanted to share some of the ones that I'd come to enjoy recently. But I would also encourage that you do some of your own research to find other black content creators that you can support. Apart from that though, I do also want to ask you to take action, especially if you're not black. Some of the really easiest things that you can do to help out to get started is sign petitions or donate to relevant organizations. So I also want to encourage you to educate yourself on the history of racism, oppression, and colonialism in North America in general. And this, especially if you're white, and especially if you live in Canada. And the reason I say this is because I think in Canada, we really tend to often form and think of our national identity in relief or in contrast to that of the US. And I think that really leads us to downplay a lot of the racism that happens at home here. You know, we often will say things like, oh, at least we're not as bad as the United States, or, oh, that doesn't happen in Canada. But like, let's not kid ourselves. There's lots of racism in Canada, and we cannot be blind to it. So finally, I am going to include some links for petitions, resources, and organizations in the description that you can check out. But I do really encourage you to conduct some own research of your own as well. If there's one real takeaway that I want you to take from this video is I want you to take action. Thank you for watching, and once again, please take action because Black lives matter.